Run Hard Nation, I hope you're having a great summer and welcome to this week's conversation. So we wanted to kind of like let the cat out of the bag. This summer, or not this summer, last summer, Run Hard had an opportunity to be in Tulsa, Oklahoma for a week-long intensive entrepreneur boot camp slash reality show. You heard that right. Your boy was on a reality show. So if there was ever a thought of Run Hard or Jesse being on a reality show, there we were. So we want to take you on that journey of what we learned, our experiences, and just share with you kind of some funny stories to go along with everything that we did this summer. So uh, I was not alone in my trip going out to Tulsa. My family, everything. We loaded up a van and we drove a lot this past summer, and one of those destinations was Tulsa, Oklahoma. Also, as a chaperone, Stacy Kirkland came on the show with us. So Stacy sits on our board of directors for Run Hard. She was married to Toby. Also, Toby was one of those people, well, actually, one of two people that was at the very beginning of Run Hard and set everything up and carried Run Hard to really where it is today, before his passing in 2020. So, Stacy, she would say she has this weird relationship with Run Hard. Like she feels like she has to be there, or she's like voluntold to do things. She really doesn't know how she got intertwined in this really, really deep web of Run Hard, but here she is. And she is here with a smile, right, Stacy?
Yes, with a
There it
smile.
is. So we're going to talk with you through our experience of what the opportunity looked like for Run Hard, because it really was a great learning experience. The experience was called the Blox, and again, it was a week-long intensive entrepreneur boot camp slash reality show. So we're going to take you through that reality show dynamic a little bit, and hey, who knows? We may have even won the show. So, well, should we tell him, Stacy?
Yes, the reality is I learned more than Jesse.
Well, she did take more notes than I did, but we may not have. So we didn't win the show, but we
But we might
did.
have come close.
We won the hearts of the viewers. So it's all about the viewers for us. Like we won them over. And so we'll let you know how you can watch the show and all that, because it has come out and you can view it. No, it's really cool. So Stacy, yeah, tell everybody a little bit about you, what you are, or what you are, who you are, and your involvement with Run Hard.
So I'm Stacy Kirkland. And like Jesse said, my husband Toby was a part of Run Hard from the very beginning, which by default means that I have been a part of Run Hard from the beginning. Sometimes with a smile on my face, sometimes without a smile on my face.
Most times, yeah.
No. Run Hard has certainly been a part of our family's life for a really long time. But yes, I now currently sit on the board. I also work for Clemson University, and am the director of marketing for the Learning Institute there. Um, and just have been lifelong friends with Jesse. Gosh, we've known each other, I guess, for like 30 years now, close to 30 years. Jesse's
Stacy,
getting old. I'm not.
I'm 34, Stacy.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes me what, 37. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm liking Jesse math today.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Jesse, the Harmons and the Kirklands, our names have been intertwined for a really long time. Um, in fairness, I had no intentions of going to Tulsa. Did not even have um, a flight purchased the week prior to. Jesse had called me a couple of times telling me about this opportunity, and I just chalked it up to one of those times that Jesse was dreaming and had a big idea. And he kept telling me that I needed to go with him, but I just kept blowing that off. A week prior to, he has maybe 2 weeks prior to, he has Sarah reach out to me and say, "Hey, do you have your flights booked?" And I said, "Oh, he's using you now too." And a week prior to the actual show beginning to film, the call came in and it was like, "No, but for real, get a ticket." So I happen to be a sucker for the Harmons and they get me involved into some stuff. So I booked a ticket. And the whole Harmon crew picked me up at the airport, and our adventure began.
So that is how Stacy got to the blocks. Let me explain a little bit about the blocks and how Run Hard got involved. So it was one of those things that I was just scrolling through social media. You know how it happens, and then it has this, "Hey, are you an entrepreneur? What do you have an idea?" All that kind of stuff. So I just clicked on it. It says, "All right, apply to be on this reality show slash competition, and we'll get back to you." I didn't think anything of it. So I just filled out that form. Well, the whole interview process was like five different steps. And so I didn't tell Sarah until we got to like step three. I submitted the form. They responded back a week later. "Hey, we love your idea. We want you to take the next step in the interview process." So we did that. I was like, yeah, nothing's going to come about it. Well, the last time they contacted me, I was sitting at a basketball game with Georgia Grace's, and they're like, "Hey, we need to do a phone interview with you. Can you please book a time?" At that point, I knew it was kind of getting kind of real. So I was like, "Sarah, I have this phone interview for this competition, reality show, entrepreneur thing." And our life was just going crazy at that point with Sarah's treatments and everything like that. And so she's like, do it, try it, try it. Um, and so I was like, we'll just see how far it goes. And if I can't do it, I can't do it. It's no big deal. Long story short, we were selected. Stacy, how many businesses do you remember that they say applied to be on the show and they selected 100 businesses?
Yeah, I mean, their numbers I think were like 40,000 overall, and then
Yeah.
they whittled that down to like 7,000 and then 1,000, and then they get 100 from that.
So out of all the applicants, they select 100 businesses. And so Run Hard was one of them. And so we went and we were probably one of the few nonprofits that were there. I would say there may have been three to five other ones that I know about that I can remember that were there the same week we were there filming the show. So it was we were in a small kind of category from a competitive side of it. It made it a little bit harder for us because of being nonprofits when a lot of the valuation and everything is by your annual gross, your profit margins and total income, different things like that. Their rubric for success was a little bit different than ours, being a youth development program. So that kind of that's the reason why we didn't win, Stacy. That's what I'm going to keep telling myself.
That's great.
So anyway, that's how we landed in Tulsa this past summer. So Stacy, take everybody through your first experience. You show up, we're at the Osage Casino Hotel. We film everything inside this huge hotel, the big conference room. We're in hotel rooms. We're locked inside this smoke infested casino
Bubble.
the
Yeah, we're in the
entire
bubble.
time that it's midsummer, but you are freezing cold. It's so cold inside this hotel. So anyway, take everybody through your experience when you just show up on site to film the blocks. What was your first impressions?
Yeah, I can't believe he's got me into this was my first impression. Also, Jesse's the only person that was freezing. No one else was freezing. So um,
That's
it is it's blazing hot in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You think South Carolina's hot, but you leave here and you go to Tulsa, and wow, that's a different kind of hot out there. We were in triple digits the whole time. So being inside in the air conditioning was actually very pleasant. But Jesse was always forgetting his sweatshirt, so that was a whole deal too. But anyway, yeah, so we show up. Dare I tell them about our very first experience when we walk in the door and Jesse has, I'm going to tell them whether I have permission or not. So, um, Jesse had told them that two of us were coming, but we show up. He says that he had claimed that there were two rooms. We get there at check-in. There's only one room.
I swear, I told him I needed two rooms. I promise you I did. Yeah,
So we all already felt like it was a scandalous reality show just from
yeah.
the beginning. Um, but we got that sorted out. We
No,
each,
the best part of that is tell him
uh,
what Grady said.
yeah.
My 8-year-old, he
So
goes,
he's in the
"So,
car.
Miss Stacy, are you gonna stay in the same room with my
Yeah.
dad?" And I'm
Yeah.
like, No, we're not spreading rumors right now.
Right.
It's two separate hotel rooms. Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually not a scandalous reality show, despite what story Grady may tell. But he did ask that question before we went in, which was funny because then we get in there and there was just one hotel room, and we were like, maybe Grady's prophetic.
Yeah.
But we got that sorted out. And then the first thing we did was we did a check-in, and then it was just kind of checking out the facility, seeing what was going on. We see all these people. There's really great space around there for you just to start building community with the other organizations and people that are there. And so we were able to sit on the couch inside with some folks, meet them, find out what they were up to, what they were doing. There's a great pool area outside, so we were able to sit outside with some other folks. So really, that first night was just about um, building some community with the people that we were going to be spending the week with. And then, of course, we had a dinner that night, and they kind of told us, be prepared. You are going to be exhausted this week. And so they kind of gave us the lay of the land, which is what each day would look like. And each day is going to be filled with a lot of information coming your way. You're going to start out in a class. It's going to be like 3 hours long. And from there, we will give you your next assignment to break up into these things they call pods, which they would take the larger group of like 100 and break that down into like 9 or 10 smaller groups of 9 or 10 people each. So, anyway, that's kind of what it looked like when we got there. We didn't really know. The host of the show, Weston Bergman, like he was there, and he comes in and does this big welcome. And I think Jesse was a little starstruck because he had followed him for a really long time on some other things. But anyway, it was kind
Okay,
of fun.
let's just be we don't have to be secretive. Like West Bergman, I was a sucker for in the MTV Real World. That was a former life. That was before kids and all that. So I'm more mature now, Stacy. But yes, I did follow Wes on that and
I'm
became.
not sure if Wes is more mature though, so I think
Yeah,
that's fair.
definitely. That's a definite no. So, yeah, I mean, I think first impressions were really cool. When we started to meet people, when we got there, we signed in, and then we went into this the video rooms where we kind of described what our business was, and they put us on camera really right away. So we're a couple hours into being on site, and we're already in front of a camera. But while we waited, it was really cool to talk to other businesses and people. So yeah, I mean, my personality is I love to get to know what they do, but also like I'm kind of ranking myself subconscious, not subconsciously, I am just quietly in my mind. I'm like, well, we're
And
better
to
than they
me,
are,
and to me.
yeah, yeah. So it was one of those things, but it was really cool because in the way my mind works in my mind world is that there's not like in our community there's not many minds that work like mine, from an entrepreneur
Amen.
standpoint. We're all thankful for, but it's like holy cow that all of a sudden like you have all these thinkers in the same room, and you can see like common personalities and stuff, and you're like
Wait a minute.
there.
That's why he took me, was to be the thinker.
Yeah,
He came to be
well,
the dreamer.
yeah.
He needed a note taker and a thinker.
So it was,
Continue.
I mean, it was really fun. We get there that first day that to go through just the interview process and meet these new people. And so you have like all these new friends all of a sudden. And then you go to dinner and you're like, hey, what do you do? How do you do it? So there's so many opportunities to meet new people, get new ideas. And so that first day for me, I was just like, man, this is incredible. Just to meet I'm a people person, so getting to meet new people was really cool. So I
And
would
these
say the
people
first,
come from all over the country. Like these are
right.
not, we were meeting people from Florida and California and New York and Jersey. And I mean, they were from all over. So it was really cool just to get to see so many people who were there, not just for the competition part of it, but really to just get a lot of information about how to make their businesses better and stronger once they went back. Like there was a wealth of knowledge to be able to be gained, not just from Wes as a successful businessman, but also from each other who were kind of in the thick of this together.
Yeah. I would say, it really got real that first night. So whenever we had dinner, they explained to us, hey, you can go into this room and we're going to do this. So every night we would go, and that's where we would film the end of the day, challenge results and all that. Well, the first night we go into this big room, and the part that they show in the show is only like a 10, maybe 15-minute clip of the entire episode. But I mean, Stacy, it took us what, 3 hours to film this last session every night. So we had dinner that would end about what, 6:30, 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then we would film 9:30, 10 o'clock. And it was I mean, it was just a long drawn out process, but it was kind of cool at the same time because for all of us in the room, it's the first time that we've really ever been on some type of reality show or TV show where you can see the behind the scenes production. So that was really cool. That first night, it just kind of, that's one of the things that surprised me was just how long everything took to happen. What about you?
Yeah, it definitely was a little surprising. Of course, I've been on TV before, so it wasn't quite as surprising. I was a very seasoned person there, in more ways than one. But no, it's very surprising. All the lights and cameras and different angles, and like you're sitting there and cameras are coming by you, and um, yeah, they just kind of did a lot of prep work to tell you what to expect the next day. But leading up to that room, no one really prepped you for how intimidating and overwhelming the cameras were going to be.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, I would say that the camera was always intimidating, whether it's looking at you or you don't know it's looking at you or you're in front of it doing an interview, all that. So, what were your expectations after that first night when you're like, okay, competition starts tomorrow? Wes, the host, he came on and he described how the week was going to work, talked about how the scoring system, which we didn't really know or understand how it was going to go. We just knew that they had one. The judges did for the different competitions that we're going to do. So, based on the end of day one, what was your thought process going into the week?
Yeah, Jesse's the dreamer, so he's the one that was always positive. Mine was the realistic side of, okay, we've got to focus. We got to have some laser focus here because if we're here to win, I mean, if we're here to win. And so just trying to figure out how much strategy it was going to take and how much we were going to be able to rely on Jesse's good looks. And we figured out
Which
strategy.
which
Strategy
carried
was going to
us
be
which carried us not so far.
um so yeah, trying to figure that out. But also, I think one of the things that we took away from the very first night is the coaches introduce themselves. And so there are these mentor coaches that have come in again from all over the world who are entrepreneurs. And some of them have already been on the block, some of them have not. It's their first time. Some of them were actual participants on the show. So trying to figure out how that was going to go and which trying to think about which judge you're going to get or coach the next day. And you just don't know anything about them that first night. So trying to figure that out. Of course, then we find out later after that evening which pod and group we're going to be in. So then it was kind of fun to be a little strategic about, who should we meet and see what they are doing so that we'll know. But really rolling into that first day, no matter how well prepared we were to know, we couldn't possibly really understand the format, the layout, how it was going to work. So that first day was just a huge learning curve, I would say.
Yeah, and so I mean, I watched a few episodes of previous seasons before. I know you hadn't, but we went
I
into
watched
this thing.
one. I
Okay,
watched
one,
one.
there you go. So we both went into this thing pretty green, inexperienced, not really knowing what's going on. So now let's take them through like our entire first day and what that looked like. So the next morning you get up, you're excited, and you're scheduled for breakfast at a certain time. And it's your option if you want to go to breakfast. It's in the big room. So we have breakfast, and then on the back side of breakfast, like 30 minutes into it, there's classes that we could take that would supplement what they were teaching you that day. So I mean, I never went to the classes. I'll just be completely transparent with you on that. But then
In
after
fairness,
the,
though, we sat at breakfast and you could hear some of the
yes,
stuff that was going on.
yeah,
Like you might not
yeah.
be directly, but we sat at breakfast a couple times.
Yeah, it was really cool at breakfast just to continue to meet new people and listen to their stories and what got them to this point. Again, because it's just unique how people made it to Tulsa. So that was a fun part. And I think one of the highlights of this trip was just getting to know people and hearing their story. Many of whom that we met and had conversations with, we still keep in contact with on social media. So that was one of the cool things. So after breakfast, it's really when the competition starts. I did not understand that the first day. And here's what I mean by that. So you
Because you
start
don't
class.
listen.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So you start they start a teaching portion of the class, which is one of the valuable parts of this experience is you're getting really top level, high level education on how to build, grow, maximize your business's potential. So I would say that teaching time was very valuable. So that started what, like nine, I think 9 o'clock,
9
something like
o'clock.
that.
Yeah.
Nine, yeah, 9 o'clock, and you go all the way to lunchtime. So 3 hours, you're just getting a very intensive amount of information, a lot of information. So it was on the screen. Everybody's getting the same information, and you're encouraged to take notes. And so that's where Stacy helped out quite a bit. And as I just kind of, as I like to phrase it, soaked everything in. So she would take notes, I would soak it in, and just try to learn what they're teaching you for that day. So what I didn't know is the content that they were teaching us would be what we needed to use to earn points during the competitive part of the week or the show, which happens in the afternoon. So it was very structured in how they scored everything, and so you had to use the same verbiage, you had to use the same processes, everything you learned. That's how you scored points. So here's where I think, Stacy, that we were at a disadvantage, and you give your input. So a lot of these were considered startups. Now, Run Hard, we've been in motion since 2012. So a lot of this that they were talking about, just building and forming and all that kind of stuff, we've kind of done already. So it's almost like I was telling the judges what we currently do or have done and seen these successes for, instead of me telling them more of like what would score points within the competitive side of the thing. Like essentially, like I could have made anything up that said like we Run Hard does it this way, but I may have scored more points, but it would not, I wouldn't get feedback that would like help us in the long run for them to correct what we currently do, if that makes sense. So it was more like I'm just going to say what we currently do or how we've already done it, and I'm going to let them give me feedback instead of like just throwing this idea out there of like, yeah, we did it this way because this way is going to score me points in the competition side of it. So, yeah, touch on that for a second.
Yeah, so I think you're right. Like going into it, we were trying to put our business model into everything they were teaching. And what we learned by, I would say, maybe we're slow learners, but I would say by day three, we changed our strategy because then we understood that it was more of a regurgitation of the information they had given us.
Mhm.
So the information that they were teaching, they wanted us to take that and to fit it into the model, not take our model and fit it into their stuff. And so I think that, there were a couple times where we really felt, um, where one of us felt very strongly about winning our pod. And then we did not win the pod, and we would be a little disappointed about that. But once we changed our strategy a little bit and figured out, oh, okay, they actually are just looking for us to regurgitate information to them to make sure that we understand that. Um, because most of the people who were back home, who brought their businesses there, they may or may not be already successful. So they just want to make sure that you are getting the information that you are there to consume.
So let's talk about the pod for a second. So that morning you take the notes, I soak everything in. Then they break us off for lunch for 30 to 45 minutes. And then they say, "All right, everybody back to your table." So like I said, we're in this big conference room. We're sitting at these long tables looking straight ahead at the stage. Wes comes out and he says, "All right, here's the question of the day." So he puts the question up on the screen, and then our job is to memorize the question, write the question down. After we write the question down, I think they keep it up for what, 30 seconds or a minute. After that goes off, you are assigned to a pod. And here's what a pod is: a pod breaks the entire group up into smaller groups. So we have 100 entrepreneurs. I think we had 10 to 12 different pods every day. So you can see that our pod group size was between 8 to maybe 12 other businesses in your pod for that day. So essentially, that's who you're competing against within the competitive side of the show. So after the question goes off the screen, you run to your hotel, to the room that you're scheduled to be at with the coach you're scheduled to be with. And from there, then you have to formalize your answer to the questions that was on the screen. And then the competitive side is broken into two different segments. The first segment is your 3-minute pitch. And that part is where you take the question and you answer it, and then you present your answer to the coach. There's no questions the coach asks you. They hook you up to a mic, they put the camera on, and you're like, all right, go. After they say go, you have 3 minutes and a maximum of 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, I had a lot of times they were doing this to me in the back. They were like, cut it off. One time they just like cut the lights off. He's not stopping. So there's like nothing they
That was
can.
rough.
And so,
He
um,
wouldn't stop talking.
okay, okay. Yeah, we'll go
Stop.
into that more detail later. But anyway, so you have 3 minutes to earn essentially as many points as you can. You don't know what you score. You never know what you score. But the coaches, they have this scoring system that they use to score you. So that's the first part of the competitive side of it. After everybody in your pod presents their 3-minute pitch, then after that, you have your 15-minute one-on-one, is what they call it, with the coach. However, everybody is still in the room with you. So you have all the other businesses there. So it's really a two-part kind of uh, competition in the afternoon. So both times you score points, both in the 3-minute pitch and also with your one-on-one with the coach. And we don't know what's scoring what points. We just have to take what we learned based on the notes that we took and what we were able to soak in, and then create that with or create as many points as you can with the coach. The first day, our coach was named Maria. She was from Oregon. Is that right,
I
Stacy?
think so. Yeah, I think so.
It was, I mean, it was great. Anytime that we got with the coaches in the one-on-one, it was very beneficial, I thought. What did you think about the one-on-ones, Stacy, with all the coaches?
Yeah, I thought the one-on-ones were great because they were able to listen to you and give you individualized feedback. So it was not just at the 30,000 foot level. Like they were listening to you and able to give you real feedback to take back and implement into your personal business. And because it's such a diverse group of coaches that we had, you got lots of different feedback, and then you were able to even get in their ear later. So after the one-on-one time, like you were able to see how they engaged with other folks in your pod, and then after or at a meal or later in the evening when we had downtime, you were able just to start building relationships and stuff with them, and I think that that was really helpful.
Yeah, I thought so. I always left the one-on-ones with the coaches just thinking, man, that was really cool.
Yeah, you always wanted more time with them. Like, man, I wish I could sit down with them for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We stayed in that pod really up until dinner time. So a lot of
Mhm.
times a pod would go from 5 to 5:30. So we go from lunch, which was about 30, 45 minutes. So between 12:45 to 5, we're in this room filming, and we're in this room kind of thinking through different processes. So that was really a long part of the day that we were there, really intensive part. And after that, we leave the room. We don't know who won, what the score was. We just assume that we know who won. So I would say after that first day, I'd say, Stacy, I remember that first day. I'm like, Stacy, we were top two in that group, and she's like, Jesse, I don't think we were. So we varied greatly in our valuation of the different businesses in the group. You want to win your pod because that's what gets you on stage at night to compete for the overall winner of the day. So you take one winner from each pod, they make it to the stage, and then they compete for the top winner of that day. So essentially at night, you have 10 different winners on stage competing for the top spot. But you never know. After the pod, we go to dinner. After dinner, we go back and we start filming for the night. And again, that film
And
session.
that's called the Blox off, just so they know. Like that's
Yeah.
the Blox off.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
at night, you want to be part of the Blox off. So there's a lot of anticipation going to the Blox off. Now, what we learned about the Blox off is probably it would not have been my forte uh of just showing what we can do, because what the Blox off is, it's just like it's a quiz. And we know that that I am not the best at quizzes, especially pop quizzes. So
But you soak it all in.
I do. So I soak it all in to tell a story. So if I can get on the stage to tell a story, I'm your guy. If it's like regurgitating information that I was supposed to get early in the morning, probably not. So what happens? We go in this big room again after dinner, and it's all chairs now. Tables are gone, just chairs, and we're just waiting for Wes to come out on stage and announce who won their pod. So now this is where like the techie part of filming a show just started to slow things down, because obviously you have to have a winner from each pod. The cameras like to highlight that. So what we had to do everything twice. So they said, all right, today the winner of Marie's pod is so and so. So they say that for the first time. Whenever you hear your business name called, you stand up. The spotlights have to find you wherever you're at in the crowd. Once they find you, you stand or you're up and everybody starts cheering for you. Well, they don't want to have cameras that are just randomly searching the crowd looking for these people. So we have to do it twice. So now the cameras know where you are. So then you kind of got to fabricate your cheering the second time, which is fine. It's not as authentic as the first time, but it's TV, right? So that was just kind of cool to see the different people win. And then on the first day, they said in Marie's pod, the winner is, and it was not us. So we did not win the first day, even though I swear we were in the top two. I felt so strongly about that. I messaged Maria, Stacy, and I was like, Maria, Stacy does not think that we were very high up on the scoring sheet that first day. I just need you to confirm for me, just for the sake of an ease to my soul, that we were up there on the first day. And she goes, you know what, Jesse? I think it was a typo. I think that they said that they didn't see the name Run Hard and they thought it was somebody else. So in my book, you won that first day. So I was like, Maria, that's all I
That's
need.
all I needed to hear. You
Yeah.
were the
So we did not win the pod the first day, but it was really cool to see what happens, because the winners from that point, they go behind backstage to this room, can't hear anything in this room. Then they're brought out one by one, and Wes just starts to hit them with different questions. And then the judges or the coaches are now kind of like a judging panel, and they start to score everybody. And again, it's blind scoring. We do not know. So anyway, that's kind of the first day. We're going to take up the rest of the week in part 2 of this. So make sure you stay tuned, and we'll see you really soon. See ya.